Hi there, folks. Welcome to another episode of Michael in the Backyard. Welcome. We're going to do some welding today. As you can see here, I've got the weld bench out. I've got the welding apparatus, the electric wire glue machines right there. We've got a chimney. A buddy of mine, his daughter has a channel called Under a Tin Roof. Jump over there, follow her. She does some neat. Your wives will enjoy it. Maybe if you're a cook or a chef, you might enjoy it as well. She's got a couple of cookbooks out. She's doing really well on YouTube. And so he's making her, inside their studio there, an actual, like, authentic styled, older styled fireplace. So she can do some of her cooking and recipes and fun stuff like that with that fireplace. What we're doing here is you're going to see in the next clip, by tomorrow after work, him and I are going to run over to a steel place, pick up some steel that we've had cut. He's had cut. He's engineered, designed it. I'm just going to be the gluer. We're bringing it in here. We're going to set it up on this weld table. We're going to glue. He's got a brick side chimney, but we're going to put a metal top on it. So it has, the angles and the front and the flue and all that's going to be on top. So we're going to assemble that here. That way we can take it over to his place and then set it and glue it down and fasten it down and bolt it down, and however he's going to secure it onto the top of the block he's already stacked up for the fireplace. It's going to be pretty cool. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back just like this. I'm not going to snap my fingers. Everybody else does that. Let's just blend into tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, that was a little bit of a throwback to Wayne's World. If any of you guys that are my age remember that show, that was fun times. But what you see us doing here is we took two pieces of pipe that I had that I'm going to call my straight edges, and we're laying the flanges out on it right now and measuring the flange of the fireplace bottom part. Whatever you want to call the hood, this is the bottom flanges. You can use hook this thing down to a cement block. Well, we got it measured, laid it out, squared up, and then we put the back piece on. Now those are Yes Weld magnetic angles. Those are actually really good. You can buy the cheaper red ones, but the Yes Weld ones have a lot stronger magnet in it, which I find a little bit better to use. I was pretty impressed. This is the first time I've actually used them, and they work really well. Now here we were kind of goofing around, messing up things a little bit because we're trying to get it to fit inside there, and it didn't quite fit, so we're nipping off the corners there. Well, we got the corners nipped off, and then we realized, well, let's just put this together as is, and we'll slide the flanges underneath it when we're done because we can trim those up. So we got the sides on, the back on, the sides on. Did a little bit of a, what do you want to call it, tack welding. Had to put a little, the plates had a little bit of a bow in it. So we ended up taking the bow out by putting it on a certain way and then being able to force it down against the other edge. And that way it puts a little tension on things, but it actually, makes it work. And then disaster struck, as you can see here. How come that front piece don't fit? Well, we don't know what happened for sure. When my buddy there drew it up, he transposed something a little different, but it measured to what his drawings were, but the drawings don't measure out right. There's something weird happened anyway. The one thing I've said for a long, long time is whether you're a fabricator, machinist, or, if you make a mistake, a good fabricator or machinist can hide the mistake and you'll never know what ever happened. And that's what we did here. We figured out what we did wrong. So we finished the base up, getting it tacked in place so we know exactly where we wanted it. Then we put the top on. That would establish the width of the top we wanted to achieve. Once that was done, we put the front face back on, and then took some more measurements, made sure everything. We just wanted to make sure it was right, because once you weld this up into a block, it's a lot harder to disassemble. And we got a little bit over $400 worth of steel there. And this is 7 gauge. This is made out of 7 gauge steel. So we took all the gas tanks outside to make sure that it wasn't going to have any spontaneous combustion due to fuel ignition. And we got the plasma cutter out and just started torching on this thing. We got it all cut down so it matched the other plate on all 3 sides there. And then it all, you know, fits right in place. I did a little grinding afterwards. And we put it back in place, got it tack welded, and then we just started welding on it after that. Now the consumables, I had to replace the consumables here on the plasma cutter. I'm still getting used to this plasma cutter. I might have had it turned up a little hot for the thickness of metal, and I really cooked my tips a little bit, but I bought plenty of the consumables so I could always swap them out and keep going. My concern would be then, I guess it would be, am I doing any damage to the unit by overpowering it for too thin of stuff? If you folks below know a lot about plasma cutters, don't be afraid to comment down below there. So now we're knocking a little bit of slag off. I was using a chipping hammer to try to knock some of that slag off, and then I realized tool's not working well at all. So then I handed my buddy the chisel and hammer, and he went after it with that because that worked a lot better. I brought the table around so I could finish grinding and cleaning up that face, and now we're tacking it all in place. What I'm doing now is there's a little sharp edge on the top there that was kind of not flat to the surface, so I'm just knocking those corners down so basically this plate would sit flat on top. Meet up a little tighter so my welds could come in and not be, you know, put a thinner weld on it, so to speak. Not a big old fat fillet weld. Here the goal is not to get, you know, tremendously large welds put on here, but enough weld to hold it together. So it would, you know, basically match the thickness or a little bit more than the thickness of the material that I'm welding. There we're kind of talking over some things, trying to figure out, we haven't really talked about the flue and how it's going to come out the top. So the boss checking in on both of us, making sure we're doing a good enough job. And then she went back in the house. But we bought a piece of 10-inch pipe, and turned out that to be a little over $70-some mistake because we didn't use it, but I've still got it in the shop and I can use it to just stick some material in, you know, my shorts and stuff. So I'll probably end up doing something like that with it. But at this point, we hadn't done a crazy amount of research on the types of vents and flues and all that stuff. So we did a little search there. He has a piece of galvanized there that obviously wasn't going to be temperature rated, but at least it was a size for reference type of thing. He was feeling like he had to go with a 10-inch stovepipe, and we eventually settled on an 8-inch stovepipe. And you'll see that, you know, develop toward the end there, what we decided to do. So now I'm just finishing tacking everything together. He's going back to his house to take some more measurements to see what kind of height thing he's got going on, because right now he's got a 4-foot tall block fireplace built, and these flanges are going to sit right on that 4-foot tall, and then, you know, it's going to go from there up to the roof. What I did on the 2 side pieces, I had to shorten them up a little bit so we could actually gain enough space to slide them, you know, slip these things just under the edge. So it's almost basically flush on the inside. We wanted as much flange sticking on the outside as possible. So we made it flush on the inside, and then I made the front and back match. If you're curious what the front and the back of, the front's toward the garage door, the back's toward the back of the shop. That's the way he had it designed to go up in there. Once I get these front and back plates put in there and located where I want them, it's going to be time to start welding. But I used the clamps around the perimeter. I was really worried about the flanges on the outside curling up on me pretty bad. You know, when you go to weld on one side of it and have it just lift up on you. So I kind of used my clamps to clamp things down in place. And once I did that, it seemed like that worked really well. It kept everything, you know, really good. So I tacked the outside really well. Then I went back on the inside, and when I welded the inside, it seemed to stay put pretty good. And then supper arrives. Yay! So he ran out. When he came back, he stopped by a local gas station, picked up a couple of burgers. So that was enough energy to keep us going. So this whole project, what you see me doing right now, is it's got a bow in it, and I got to move that bow in the middle so it lines back up with the flange on the inside. So we clamped a few things around, did a couple of clamps to spread it out, and got all that put in place. And as you can see now, time to start running some weld. Fun fact, I told my buddy, I said, calculate how many feet of weld we're doing here. And it turns out it was over 55 feet of welding that we did on this particular box. But yeah, we're running the bead on the inside. You can see the area closest to me where I already ran the bead on that lip. And we're gonna run those 4 sides there. Then it's, from that point on, it's a lot of flip it, weld something else, flip it, weld something else. But this is one of those situations where it's like, you could have made a fireplace to match something you could buy. You're going to spend a lot of money on something like this from anybody you buy it from. There again, like I said, this here was just a little over $400 of materials and, some time and my welder. And we're going to have something that's uniquely his and uniquely what they're going to use at their place. So. So the one nice thing about having my weld bench on wheels like this is I'm able to rotate it around and flip it around and keep you guys in the camera shot on a lot of stuff. But yeah, this was a lot of welding inside the box. By the time I got the inside all welded, it was about 9 o'clock at night, and we called it quits and started doing some more work on it the first thing the next morning. Now we're just talking about the gas and gas consumption and how much I had left, which was plenty to get the job done. Now the inside's all done. It's like, let's get after the outside. So I brought out the old stool so I could sit in comfort and weld those last little bit around the bottom. Then we got to do some vertical welds and all that fun stuff. But it is kind of relaxing just sitting there watching the bright light. You can see on the TV up there behind me, one of the guys I watch is Bikes and Beards guy, and yeah, he bought an Orange County chopper in this episode. Sold for over $100,000 new, and he picked it up for 10 grand. Talk about devaluation. Now, as you see here, I grabbed the grinder and I'm not trying to grind off my welds. I'm not trying to make them look pretty. All I'm doing is knocking off the roughness as we're handling it. None of us get hurt on anything, and knock a little bit of that splatter off. But I always find it relaxing to go ahead, weld a bead, then grind some, weld and then grind. That way you don't get too burned out on any one thing. I don't weld every day for a living, so let's just say the muscle memory and everything, fatigue sets in a little quicker than it normally would if I was, doing this type of work every single day. Yep, climbing up on top, get that top bead. There again, you're laying the beads down on a, depending on which way the metal is overlapping. And breakfast is here. So he knows that biscuits and gravy is one of my favorites, so he picked me up a biscuit and gravy and a Diet Coke, and that was enough energy to get my morning blasted off and keep going. Another one I like to watch, you see up on the TV there, is the whole Vice Grip Garage with old Derek Beery. Looks like he's doing some patch panels on a square body in this video. Part of me wishes I'd have got into cars more, and I was in cars more, but I wasn't doing YouTube when I was playing around with cars. But that's okay. Every day, accomplish something. That's all you can do. Even if it's only 15 minutes worth of something, you move something forward. But I always try to do that hour a day minimum. Now, one thing I did do on a lot of this on the outside is after I got the inside welded, just like I did just a second ago there, I'll go ahead and grind the tack welds off because they're not doing anything at that moment in time anymore. And that way when I run my bead down something like this, I don't have to sit there and run over the tack weld and have an abnormal lump there. So the door's open at this moment just to, you know, get some fresh air. That didn't seem like a long time, but it got cold in there quick and had a lot of fresh air back in the building. All right, folks, that was a lot of time lapse, no doubt. And maybe a little too much voiceover. I don't know how much I'm going to do yet because I ain't done that yet. I ain't edited it yet. But check it out. There it is. The fireplace topper. And we cut an 8-inch hole in the top here. I missed that. Battery died. Didn't get a chance to do the old plasma cut, but I cheated. Where'd it go? I used a piece of... Did they throw it away already? Oh, well. I put a hole in the middle of it, and then the wood, and then I put a 7/8 hole, a 3/4 inch hole on the outside, so my plasma gun just like zippity doo-dah. Talk about a clean round hole. But yeah, that's it. We're gonna load it up in the back of his truck and send him on his way. Task complete. Pretty happy about that. Now this is 7-gauge material. You guys might be thinking that's a little overkill. This thing weighs about 200 pounds. But the block he was going to build it out of was going to weigh, you know, well over 500 pounds. So this is actually quicker, faster, stronger in the long run. And it'll last forever. It really will. Well, hopefully I can get you some shots and some future videos on this thing finished and in action. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. You guys out there have fun. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. Like and subscribe and share. You can't follow me on the Instagram. You can't follow me on TikTok because I ain't doing any of that stuff. So you better just watch me here. Adios and good day. Bye.